The sun rose gently over the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow across the lush tropical landscape of Fantasy Island. Mr. Rourke walked with a brisk, confident stride down the pristine pathway, his white suit immaculate against the vibrant green backdrop. Beside him, the energetic and ever-loyal Lawrence struggled slightly to keep pace, his face bright with an enthusiastic grin as he looked toward the arriving guests. Mr. Rourke turned to his companion and said, "Morning, Lawrence." "Smiles, everyone. Smiles." Lawrence nodded eagerly, adjusting his posture to match the grand elegance of his employer. As they neared the landing dock, a striking woman stepped off the boat, her presence immediately capturing the attention of everyone nearby. Lawrence leaned in slightly and remarked, "Miss Wendy Collins. She is the famous model, is not she?" Mr. Rourke watched her with a look of profound understanding and replied, "Yes, Lawrence. But unfortunately, her beauty is no defense against paradox. Miss Collins may appear to be the love God is gift to man, but the fact is, an emotional problem has left her frigid." Lawrence paused, a wave of genuine sympathy crossing his face as he thought about the heavy burden hidden behind such a flawless exterior. He murmured, "What an incalculable waste." Mr. Rourke sighed softly, acknowledging the deep irony of her situation, and added, "No one is more aware of that than Miss Collins. That is why her fantasy is to know love and its passions without guilt or inhibitions." Lawrence shook his head in quiet wonder and said, "Sir, I had no idea." Before they could dwell further on her story, another guest stepped onto the island, carrying himself with the rigid dignity of a man used to immense public adoration. Lawrence's eyes widened in recognition as he whispered the name Arthur Crane. He turned to Mr. Rourke, his voice filled with genuine awe, and said, "He is one of the space shuttle astronauts. The man is a national hero." Mr. Rourke, however, maintained a calm and slightly amused expression, correcting his assistant by saying the man is a plumbing salesman. Lawrence blinked in sheer disbelief, his mouth dropping open slightly as he gasped, "What?" Mr. Rourke explained the bizarre truth behind the man's appearance, saying yes, he was only posing as an astronaut. One of the many roles he compulsively assumes. A professional fraud, but he was so convincing. Lawrence looked back at the supposed astronaut, wondering how someone could play such a massive part so flawlessly. Mr. Rourke continued to clarify the stakes of this particular visit, noting, "Well, that is part of the problem. You see, the young lady with him is his fiancée, Miss Joanne Fields. And if Mr. Crane persists in his masquerades, it could be disastrous for their relationship." Lawrence looked at the couple, seeing the underlying tension beneath their smiles, and asked, "What is his fantasy, sir?" Mr. Rourke answered with a firm, decisive tone, saying Mr. Crane's fantasy is to be freed forever of his compulsion to be the great imposter. The final choice will be his. A matter of kill or cure. As all the newly arrived travelers gathered on the Grand Pavilion, looking around at the paradise that surrounded them, Mr. Rourke stepped forward to address them collectively. His voice carried a welcoming warmth that seemed to put everyone at ease. "My dear guests, I am Mr. Rourke, your host. Welcome to Fantasy Island." The words echoed beautifully across the estate, marking the official beginning of a journey that would change their lives forever. Shortly after the initial greeting, Wendy Collins walked alone down a quiet path lined with tropical flowers, her mind spinning with a mixture of regret and confusion. She looked down at the ground and thought to herself, "I sure wish I could understand some of the dumb things I have been doing lately. For instance, coming here to straighten out my love life. It is not as if I do not have all kinds of guys hitting on me." Lawrence, who happened to be nearby checking on the luggage arrangements, overheard her final comment. He looked up with a thoroughly confused and alarmed expression, asking, "Really, madam? Hitting you?" Mr. Rourke, walking up behind them to join the conversation, could not help but smile at his assistant innocence and corrected him, saying, "Hitting on, Lawrence. It is a slang term for display of sexual interest." Turning his attention to the beautiful model, Mr. Rourke observed, "Now, holding on to any of those guys, that is the problem, is not it, Miss Collins?" Wendy sighed, the defensive wall she usually maintained beginning to crack just a little bit under his perceptive gaze. "Well, Mr. Rourke, I was never very interested in permanent relationships," she admitted openly. "That is, until Jeff Barkley came into my life. And then I panicked. I said all kinds of lousy things to him, and I drove him away. Lawrence, wanting to be helpful, reached out and offered her a small glass of refreshing juice, which she took gratefully, saying thank you, Lawrence. Mr. Rourke remembered their previous correspondence and pointed out when we first talked, you mentioned psychiatry. Wendy let out a short, cynical laugh, shaking her head as she remembered the endless hours spent in comfortable chairs. Sure, she said. There is shrinks out there sailing yachts that were paid for by my office visits. Mr. Rourke walked slowly alongside her, his hands clasped behind his back, and suggested if the past is prologue, Miss Collins, then airing all wounds might help us better understand the present problem. Wendy stopped walking, looking at him with desperate eyes, wanting nothing more than a simple solution to an incredibly knotty emotional knot. There is only one thing you need to understand, Mr. Rourke, she said softly. A man fell in love with me. A wonderful, terrific man. And I need your help to learn how to love him back. Is that too much to ask? Mr. Rourke looked at her with deep empathy but maintained his characteristic honesty, replying, when you see a Mr. Barkley, that is a question that must be answered between the two of you. Wendy gasped, her heart skipping a beat as the implication of his words washed over her. You mean Jeff is here? She asked, her voice trembling with a mixture of excitement and fear. Mr. Rourke smiled warmly, revealing the elaborate plan he had set in motion. As part of your fantasy, I have made special arrangements with Dream Vacations magazine, you know, to do a layout of the island for its next issue, and for Mr. Barkley to photograph it. Lawrence, capturing the brilliant strategy behind this setup, chimed in enthusiastically, saying and it would certainly upgrade the layout is importance considerably if a model of Miss Collins' renown were to be involved, would not it, sir? Mr. Rourke turned to Lawrence, pretending to be pleasantly surprised by the suggestion, and joked now, why did not I think of that, Lawrence? It is an excellent idea, is not it? Wendy could not help but smile at their banter, though the anxiety about the confrontation remained. Sure, it is terrific, she agreed. I just wonder how Jeff is going to react. Mr. Rourke gestured toward a beautiful, winding trail that led deeper into the lush foliage, advising her, why do not you join me at the Twin Falls, which you will find if you follow that lane over there, in half an hour, and we will find out. Wendy nodded, saying okay, and watched as Mr. Rourke and Lawrence moved away to attend to the other guests. Meanwhile, Arthur Crane was standing near a scenic overlook, gazing out at the vast ocean and trying to maintain his grand, heroic posture. He muttered to himself, that is it, feeling the thrill of his own imagination. Lawrence, who had been assigned to monitor him closely, observed him from a short distance and whispered, devastating indeed. Mr. Rourke then approached the young man, calling out softly, Mr. Rourke? Ah, Mr. Crane, I hope I am not disturbing anything. Arthur quickly snapped out of his trance, offering a bright, charismatic smile that belonged to a seasoned performer, and replied, not at all. Please come on up. Lawrence stepped forward, looking closely at Arthur's face, and remarked with a touch of humor, I do not recognize you, sir, without your space helmet. Arthur laughed, completely unfazed, and asked, oh, you saw me on TV? Lawrence nodded vigorously, answering, oh, yes, as the astronaut. Mr. Rourke added to the list of identities, noting and in certain newspapers and magazines as an artist, author, a rock star. Arthur grinned broadly, remembering the thrill of those elaborate deceptions, and said, I really had fun with that one. Mr. Rourke nodded slowly, replying, oh, I can imagine. The smile faded from Arthur's face as he looked over at Joanne, who was standing further down the path, looking completely exhausted by his behavior. I only wish Joanne saw things the way I do, Arthur confessed, his voice dropping to a vulnerable whisper. Every time I am somebody else, it just drives her up a wall. Mr. Rourke took a step closer, analyzing the root cause of this strange behavior with gentle precision. Well, it does indicate a certain psychological imbalance, he stated calmly. When one feels insecure about himself, it is not uncommon to assume other personalities, ones which he considers more deserving of esteem, respect. Arthur looked down, realizing how accurately Mr. Rourke had captured his inner struggle. That was me, he admitted. Until I met Joanne, and she made me feel good about myself. But I still keep doing it. I cannot help it. Mr. Rourke placed a comforting hand on his shoulder and said yes. Yes, well, I believe we may be able to help you. Turning to his assistant, Mr. Rourke announced Lawrence. For the next 2 days, I am entrusting Mr. Crane to your care. Lawrence's wide eyes darted between Mr. Rourke and Arthur as he stammered, "Me, sir?" Mr. Rourke confirmed firmly, "Yes. During Mr. Crane's stay here, you are to be at his side whenever possible. And if you see him becoming one of his fictional personalities, your task will be to stop him." Arthur looked at Lawrence, a bit nervous but determined to try, and asked, 2 days of just being me? Mr. Rourke smiled encouragingly, saying, "Yes. I am quite confident you will get through it." Arthur felt a small spark of hope and said, "Thank you." Mr. Rourke replied, "You are very welcome, Mr. Crane." As Arthur walked away to join his fiancée, Lawrence leaned toward Mr. Rourke and whispered anxiously, "He may get through it, sir, but will I?" Over at the beautiful location of the Twin Falls, Jeff Barkley was fully immersed in his professional element. He was moving around his camera equipment, directing his crew with sharp, confident commands. He made a decisive move with a chess piece on a small table nearby and muttered, "Checkmate." At that moment, his assistant, Mr. Lorch, walked up to check the schedule. Jeff looked at him and said, Mr. Lorch. Well, after we finish this fantasy, we do a Japanese setup and then a wedding fantasy. What do you think?" Mr. Rourke, who had just arrived at the location to observe the shoot, walked into the frame and offered his perspective, saying, "Well, in order not to disappoint the people who see your pictures, Mr. Barkley, I think that I had better do as well with my fantasies as you seem to be doing with yours." Jeff nodded respectfully, acknowledging the host presence, and called out to his model, "Okay, Jeff. That is about as close to paradise as we are gonna get." The model smiled brightly, and Jeff cheered her on, saying, "That is my girl. Excuse us." He turned back to the technical crew, planning the next elaborate shot. "Okay, Pete, remember, this is every man's fantasy. Here we go. All right, give me the 24. Thank you. Okay, kid, show me the magic. Hit me in those drums." Jeff peered through the viewfinder, capturing the vibrant energy of the scene. "That is nice," he muttered. "Very nice. Very nice. Good. Go ahead, kid. Delighted fantasy. Put the head on her. That is nice. Yeah, that is good. Good. Terrific. That is it. Thank you very much." He stepped back from the camera, satisfied with the results, and called out the transitions. "Here we go, Chris." "Carla." Carla answered from across the set. "Yeah?" Jeff instructed her. "Okay, that is it for Pete. Let us get it set up as a woman's fantasy. Okay, let us go, girls. Get off those rocks. Come on, we got another setup. Be careful when you move it." As the crew began shifting the heavy equipment, Wendy Collins walked onto the set, her presence instantly causing a sudden hush among those who recognized her. Jeff froze mid-motion, his eyes locking onto her face. The professional warmth drained from his expression, replaced by a cold, guarded mask. "Hello, Jeff," she said softly, trying to gauge his reaction. Jeff cleared his throat, his tone dripping with sarcasm as he replied, "What are you doing here?" "I work for a living, remember?" Mr. Rourke immediately stepped